The atmosphere in Washington, D.C. was electric. It wasn't every day that the United States Attorney General called for an urgent press conference. Reporters from every major news network, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, had gathered in the gleaming conference hall of the Department of Justice, their cameras pointed at the stage. A thick sense of anticipation hung in the air, whispering of a scandal about to explode. At exactly 10 a.m., the doors to the hall swung open and in walked Pam Bondi, the United States Attorney General under President Donald Trump. Her presence commanded the room as she strode confidently to the podium, a thick folder clutched in her hand. She adjusted the microphone, cleared her throat, and then, with a steely gaze, addressed the nation. "Good morning, America. I stand before you today to reveal facts that will shake the very foundations of our democracy. These facts are not speculation. They are backed by solid evidence, investigations, and undeniable truth. It is my duty as the Attorney General of the United States to expose corruption wherever it exists, even when it involves those who sit in positions of power." A murmur rippled through the audience. The weight of her words was unmistakable. This was no ordinary political maneuver. Something big was about to be revealed. The name on everyone's lips was Ilhan Omar, the fiery and controversial congresswoman from Minnesota's 5th District. For years, Omar had been at the center of numerous controversies, but nothing had ever stuck. She had managed to sidestep scandals, dismiss allegations, and rise in political prominence. But this time, things were different. Bondi took a deep breath and opened the folder in her hands. What I'm about to reveal is not based on partisan politics. It is not about Republican or Democrat. It is about the truth and ensuring that no one, regardless of their position, is above the law. The facts I present today expose a pattern of deception, fraud, and misconduct that cannot be ignored. The reporters sat on the edge of their seats. They had heard rumors over the past few days, whispers of an investigation, of classified documents, of explosive findings. But what Bondi said next sent shockwaves across the room. Ilhan Omar has built her political career on a foundation of lies, and today we are pulling that foundation apart. Gasps filled the air. Cameras flashed. This was not just another baseless accusation. The Attorney General of the United States was making a public declaration that could alter the course of American politics. Bondi continued, flipping through the documents in front of her. The first issue we must address is campaign finance fraud. Our investigation has uncovered a shocking pattern of illicit financial transactions linked directly to Representative Omar's campaign funds. These funds were used for personal expenses, international travel, and even questionable business dealings with foreign entities. The reporters in the room began furiously typing. This was the kind of bombshell that could dominate headlines for weeks. Second, Bondi continued, her voice unwavering, there is undeniable evidence that Ilhan Omar has engaged in immigration fraud, a crime that not only violates U.S. laws but also raises serious concerns about national security. Another round of gasps filled the room. This was an allegation that had been whispered in conservative circles for years, but never before had a high-ranking government official confirmed it so directly. For years, rumors have circulated about Omar's personal history, particularly regarding her family ties and her marriage records. Today, I am here to confirm that our investigation has uncovered documented proof that Ilhan Omar committed marriage fraud to bypass U.S. immigration laws. The evidence is irrefutable. And that's just the beginning. Bondi's words sent a chill through the room. If what she was saying was true, this was a career-ending scandal. She leaned forward, her eyes scanning the crowd of reporters before delivering her final statement of the morning. I urge every American to follow the facts. In the coming days, we will release documents, testimonies, and irrefutable evidence that will prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that Representative Ilhan Omar has deceived the American people. This is not about politics. This is about justice. With that, Bondi stepped back from the podium. The room erupted into chaos. Reporters shouted questions, camera crews rushed to send live feeds to their networks, and political analysts scrambled to make sense of what had just happened. Outside the Justice Department, social media exploded. Within minutes, hashtags like #OmarExposed, #BondiReveals, and #JusticeForAmerica were trending on Twitter. News anchors cut into their regularly scheduled programs to dissect every word of Bondi's statement. Meanwhile, in a quiet corner of Capitol Hill, Ilhan Omar sat in her office, staring at the television screen in front of her. Her face was unreadable, but deep down, She knew. This was not just another political attack. This was the beginning of the end. The moment Pam Bondi stepped away from the podium, Washington was thrown into political turmoil. Cable news networks scrambled to adjust their programming, breaking into live coverage with flashing banners. Breaking: Attorney General Pam Bondi accuses Representative Ilhan Omar of immigration and campaign finance fraud. As the world digested the bombshell announcement, reporters rushed to get reactions from lawmakers. The halls of Congress were abuzz with speculation. Some Democratic members rushed to Omar's defense, while Republican leaders called for immediate investigations and possible legal actions. But behind the scenes, the real battle was just beginning. The White House reacts. Within hours, President Donald Trump took to Twitter. @RealDonaldTrump. Pam Bondi is a true patriot. Finally, someone is exposing the fraud and corruption of the radical left. This is just the beginning. Stay tuned, folks. Justice is coming. #OmarExposed. The tweet sent shockwaves across the political spectrum. Conservatives cheered while progressives fumed. Omar's supporters called the allegations a witch hunt, while Trump's base saw it as long overdue justice. At a press briefing that evening, White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany fielded a barrage of questions. Does President Trump believe Ilhan Omar should be removed from Congress? A CNN reporter asked. McEnany's response was direct. What we believe is that no one is above the law. Representative Omar must answer for these allegations, and we trust the Attorney General's office to pursue this case without political bias. If the evidence proves what Pam Bondi says, then there must be consequences. It was clear the administration was fully backing Bondi's revelations. Omar's emergency response. Meanwhile, in Omar's congressional office, a crisis team was forming. Advisors, lawyers, and PR specialists were huddled around a conference table, scrolling through social media, reading headlines, and trying to control the narrative. Omar, dressed in a dark blazer, sat at the head of the table, her expression grim. This is an attack. A racist, Islamophobic smear campaign, she said firmly, tapping her fingers on the table. We need to hit back hard. Her communications director, a young woman in her early 30s, shook her head. Congresswoman, this isn't just another attack from right-wing media. The Attorney General is making official accusations. We need to take this seriously. A deep sigh filled the room. Omar turned to her legal counsel. What are our options? The lead attorney adjusted his glasses. First, we demand the full release of Bondi's so-called evidence. If she has documents, we need to know what they are. Second, we prepare a public statement denying all allegations and framing this as a politically motivated stunt. Omar leaned back in her chair. And if they push for an investigation? The lawyer hesitated before answering. Then we fight. But he exhaled. Congresswoman, if these allegations hold up, you could be facing more than just political fallout. This could mean legal consequences. Omar's jaw tightened. She refused to believe it. This was just another Republican attack. She pulled out her phone and quickly typed a tweet. @Ilhan Omar. These baseless accusations are nothing more than a racist attack on a Muslim woman in power. I will not be silenced. We will fight back and expose the corruption of this administration. #WitchHunt. Her supporters rallied behind her, but the damage was already done. The allegations had been made, and now everyone was waiting for the evidence. Bondi's next move. As the sun set over Washington, Pam Bondi was already preparing for the next step. She had anticipated Omar's response. She knew the Congresswoman would claim victimhood. But Bondi wasn't working with speculation. She had documents. She had testimonies. And in 48 hours, she was going to reveal them to the world. 2 days had passed since Pam Bondi's explosive press conference, and the entire nation was waiting for the promised evidence. Cable news channels ran continuous coverage, debating the seriousness of the allegations. Some analysts dismissed them as politically motivated, while others argued that Bondi wouldn't risk her career on baseless claims. Meanwhile, across social media, the battle lines had been drawn. Omar's supporters accused Bondi and the Trump administration of attempting to silence a powerful Muslim woman. Conservatives, on the other hand, saw it as the beginning of long-awaited justice. Then, on the morning of the third day, Pam Bondi made her move. The DOJ's evidence dossier. At precisely 9 a.m., Bondi's office released a 60-page dossier containing key evidence against Ilhan Omar. It was published online and distributed to major media outlets. The document detailed campaign finance violations, records of misused campaign funds, including transactions that showed payments for personal luxury travel, high-end shopping, and unexplained wire transfers to foreign accounts. Immigration fraud new evidence, including sworn affidavits and official documents, supporting the long-rumored claim that Omar had engaged in marriage fraud to help a family member obtain U.S. citizenship, ties to foreign entities, financial transactions linking Omar's political organization to overseas donors with potential conflicts of interest. Bondi held another press conference that morning. Standing before a room packed with reporters, she raised the thick folder in her hand. This is not speculation. This is proof. She took a deep breath before continuing. The American people deserve transparency. Today, we are making all evidence public. These documents prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Ilhan Omar has engaged in activities that not only violate campaign finance laws, but also pose serious ethical and legal concerns regarding her past. The reaction, the political earthquake, was immediate. Fox News ran with the headline, "Breaking. DOJ releases bombshell evidence against Omar. Her career may be over." CNN's coverage was more cautious. Omar denies charges as DOJ releases questionable evidence. Meanwhile, social media erupted. Within minutes, hashtags like #OmarGate, #BondiBombshell, and #JusticeForAmerica were trending nationwide. At the Capitol, a wave of reporters swarmed Democratic leaders, demanding their response. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, caught off guard, gave a measured statement. "These allegations are serious. Representative Omar has a right to defend herself, but I trust the process and expect a fair and thorough investigation." The response was lukewarm, neither a defense nor a condemnation. But behind closed doors, panic was setting in among House Democrats. Omar's office in crisis. Inside Ilhan Omar's congressional office, the atmosphere was chaotic. Staff members rushed to analyze the DOJ's document dump. Her chief of staff, a tall man with a tense expression, paced back and forth. "Congresswoman, this is bad." Omar stood at her desk, staring at the live news coverage. She refused to believe it. "They're twisting the facts. They're making me out to be a criminal when I've done nothing wrong," she snapped. Her lawyer flipped through the DOJ report. "Some of this evidence is damning. We need a strategy fast." Omar clenched her fists. She knew she couldn't ignore this. The American people had been handed official documents. She needed to act. The counterattack. That afternoon, Ilhan Omar held a press conference of her own. Flanked by progressive allies such as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib, she stepped up to the podium. Cameras flashed and reporters murmured. She took a deep breath and addressed the nation. "What we are witnessing today is a politically motivated attack orchestrated by the Trump administration to silence dissenting voices." She held up a document. "The so-called evidence released by the DOJ is a fabrication, a smear campaign designed to distract from the real corruption in Washington." AOC stepped forward. "This is a clear example of weaponizing the Department of Justice for political revenge." The progressive wing of the Democratic Party immediately rallied around Omar. Twitter was flooded with statements of support. The left was mobilizing. But the question remained, was the evidence real? And if so, could Omar survive the scandal? As the battle over Ilhan Omar's political future raged on, the Department of Justice announced a formal investigation. Pam Bondi's evidence had created enough political and legal pressure that even reluctant Democrats had to concede this wasn't just another partisan attack. The House Ethics Committee and the Federal Election Commission, FEC, both confirmed that they would be reviewing the allegations. Congress divided. The division in Congress was sharper than ever. While Republicans demanded Omar's resignation, Democratic leadership found themselves in a difficult position. Supporting her outright risked tying the party to a scandal, but abandoning her could fracture their progressive base. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, Republican California, held a press conference outside the Capitol addressing a cheering crowd of conservative supporters. "No one is above the law. If Ilhan Omar committed fraud, if she stole money from her donors, if she lied to get into this country, then she needs to be held accountable like any other citizen. This is about justice." Across the political aisle, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat California, took a more measured stance. "We believe in due process. Representative Omar has denied these allegations and she deserves the chance to present her side. However, we also take these concerns seriously and will allow the investigation to proceed." Omar's strongest defenders, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, and Ayanna Pressley, blasted the probe as a racist attack designed to undermine minority voices in Congress. "This is the same playbook Republicans always use," AOC said in an impassioned speech. "They target women of color, they target immigrants, and they try to smear them with baseless accusations. We're not falling for it." But the problem was the accusations weren't baseless anymore. Omar's legal nightmare. Behind the scenes, Omar's legal team was in full crisis mode. The Department of Justice had issued subpoenas to financial institutions and former campaign staff members. A few key witnesses once loyal to Omar had already agreed to cooperate in exchange for immunity. "This is spiraling out of control," Omar's chief counsel muttered, flipping through piles of legal documents. "If even one of these finance charges sticks, we're looking at felony charges." Omar slammed her fist on the desk. "This is a setup. This administration has been coming after me from day one. I won't let them destroy me." Her advisors, however, knew the truth. The case against her was growing stronger by the hour. Pam Bondi's final strike. While Omar's team scrambled, Pam Bondi wasn't finished. In an exclusive interview with Tucker Carlson on Fox News, she made an even more shocking claim. "We have just obtained even more damning information," Tucker, Bondi said, her eyes blazing. "Our investigators have uncovered direct evidence linking Ilhan Omar to foreign political influences that raise serious questions about national security." Tucker leaned in. "Are you saying she's compromised?" Bondi nodded. "That's exactly what I'm saying. And when we release this evidence, the American people will see the truth about who Ilhan Omar really is." The segment went viral instantly. Within an hour, Omar's office was flooded with reporters demanding answers. Her lawyer pulled her aside. "Congresswoman, this is serious. If Bondi has proof of foreign ties, it could lead to expulsion from Congress or worse." Omar's face was stone cold. She wasn't going down without a fight. But at that moment, she knew she was running out of time. The nation was now fully engulfed in what was being called Omargate. News outlets, social media platforms, and even late-night talk shows debated the scandal. Would Ilhan Omar survive this, or was her political career truly over? The biggest question remained: what was the damning evidence Pam Bondi had promised? Bondi's bombshell revelation. 3 days after her appearance on Tucker Carlson Tonight, Pam Bondi held what would be the most highly anticipated press conference of her career. Reporters from every major network crowded into the Department of Justice briefing room. The air was thick with tension. Bondi stepped up to the podium, took a deep breath, and dropped the final hammer. She held up a series of newly declassified financial documents and intelligence reports. "We now have undeniable proof that Representative Ilhan Omar has received undisclosed financial contributions and political backing from foreign entities linked to Qatar and Turkey. These are not just rumors, these are verified transactions." Gasps filled the room. Bondi continued, "What's even more alarming is that these payments coincide with key political moments in her career, raising serious concerns about foreign influence in our government." Then came the most explosive claim. "Furthermore, we have credible witness testimony suggesting that Representative Omar acted as an intermediary for these foreign interests, advocating for policies that directly benefited their governments while failing to disclose these connections to the American people." The room erupted into chaos. Reporters shouted questions. Some were stunned into silence. Others immediately began drafting their breaking news headlines. Immediate fallout. The reaction was swift. Within minutes, the news spread across every major platform. Bombshell evidence: Ilhan Omar's ties to foreign governments exposed. Ilhan Omar funded by foreign entities, DOJ investigation intensifies. Did Ilhan Omar commit treason? Republicans demand immediate action. On Capitol Hill, the fallout was immediate and brutal. House Republicans formally called for Omar's expulsion from Congress. Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who had previously taken a cautious stance, was now under immense pressure to act. Pelosi finally broke her silence, releasing a statement that shocked even Omar's supporters. "The allegations and evidence presented against Representative Omar are deeply troubling. While she has a right to defend herself, these claims require a full investigation. The House Ethics Committee will begin proceedings immediately." For the first time, Omar's strongest Democratic allies began to distance themselves. Did Ilhan Omar commit treason? Republicans demand immediate action. Police car light. On Capitol Hill, the fallout was immediate and brutal. House Republicans formally called for Omar's expulsion from Congress. Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who had previously taken a cautious stance, was now under immense pressure to act. Pelosi finally broke her silence, releasing a statement that shocked even Omar's supporters. The allegations and evidence presented against Representative Omar are deeply troubling. While she has a right to defend herself, these claims require a full investigation. The House Ethics Committee will begin proceedings immediately. For the first time, Omar's strongest Democratic allies began to distance themselves. Even Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who had fiercely defended her, issued a statement calling for due process, a subtle but clear refusal to stand by her unconditionally. Omar's last stand. With the walls closing in, Omar took to Twitter with one last desperate attempt to save her career. At Ilhan Omar. This is nothing more than a politically motivated attack by a corrupt administration. I will fight these baseless accusations and expose the real corruption in Washington. #WitchHunt. But the damage was done. That evening, her staff began resigning. Donors pulled their financial support. Even progressive activists, once her biggest cheerleaders, began to question whether she could survive the scandal. The end of the road. As pressure mounted, Omar was left with two choices. Fight the charges in a lengthy legal battle that could lead to criminal prosecution. Resign and attempt to salvage what remained of her reputation. Ultimately, with no political allies left and an FBI investigation looming, Omar made a shocking announcement. At a somber press conference, standing alone without her usual supporters, Ilhan Omar announced her resignation from Congress. While I maintain my innocence, I cannot continue to serve effectively under these circumstances. It is with a heavy heart that I step down, but I will not stop fighting for justice. Her resignation sent shockwaves through Washington. It was the biggest political downfall of the decade. Pam Bondi, the relentless attorney general, had won. Aftermath. Omar faced multiple federal investigations into her campaign finances and foreign ties. Democrats struggled to recover from the damage caused by the scandal as Republicans used it as a rallying cry in upcoming elections. Pam Bondi's reputation skyrocketed, solidifying her as one of the most powerful figures in Trump's administration. Donald Trump declared victory, tweeting, "At Real Donald Trump. Another corrupt politician exposed. Great work by Pam Bondi and the DOJ. The swamp is draining itself. #winning." With Omar gone, the political landscape had shifted. The message was clear: no one was untouchable. And in Washington, the game of power continued.